Hi everybody, I'm Gloria, and I have what people would like to term as ADHD, and I am self-diagnosed. The components that allowed me to recognize that, as I did my own evaluation over time before there was even a diagnosis giving it that label, was that I really felt as if I didn't fit in this world, like somebody just dropped me off on this planet and left me. And I always had this ability to be able to understand what people were talking about intuitively before they had finished their sentences. Knowing what was to come and being able to jump ahead 3 or 4 spaces in the conversation, being completed with the conversation before people had even gotten to addressing their points. And it became very tedious for me, and I learned to compensate. Well, as time went on and I became a parent, I had a child who also had similar traits, and I had taught him some of the tools that I had learned, one of which was some meditation, a very simple meditation that was a combination of some of my own techniques along with those that I had learned throughout some yoga classes. And it was one of those processes or modalities that allows the mind to quiet down and to focus so that the brain, which is constantly going and can be so engaged and so bored at the same time, it allows that filter to come into place so that as the child is moving into that space of wanting to focus on things, they can get rid of that chatter and they can actually have silence and be able to focus. With the ADHD or the ADD child, there can be chemical imbalances that do require medications on some extreme cases. Yet I recognize that the ability of the human mind and the ability of the human will is strong enough that if we are able to train the children with just very simple techniques that they can begin with, and then it can become part of their physiology, it will become second nature to them. They're able to focus, they're able to achieve at higher levels than most of the children who are not being, quote, and I don't like the phrase quote unquote, but quote unquote being diagnosed with these ailments that have been labeled as ADD or ADHD. I don't see it as an ailment, I don't see it as a disease. I see it as an evolutionary process within humanity. Every generation we have a new evolution if we look for it. Scientists have looked strategically over the years, and they have determined that humans have evolved from being shorter to being taller, from being thinner bone to being thicker bone, looking at genetics, lifespan, all of the different areas that they're able to physically measure and notice the evolution of humanity. Yet what they haven't begun to measure, or to my knowledge they have not begun to measure, is the ability of mentality. When you look at the levels of the human brain, and there are many people who study the science of the human brain, the intuitive knowledge versus the learned knowledge, and looking at what our children intuitively know now is so much deeper than what it was even when I was a child or when my parents were a child. I know how much I looked and observed my parents and where I was at within my understanding, and then I was able to also observe my son's or my child's level compared to my own, comparing it to my parents. And there is such a huge difference. Looking at how we talk to our children, looking at what we convey to them, and how we accept them, how we work with them and teach them to be able to use the talents, the skills, and the attributes that truly are gifts for them, will allow them to explore and enhance not only their potentials but their abilities in life as we go along.